everyone, and welcome to this episode of Writer's Infusion. I'm your host, Susan. I'm here with Dave, Jen, Julie, and Ed. We are here to critique a story called Daffodil Days by Melanie Leivers. I am going to read the story today, so I'll start with the summary and then we'll go to the story itself. Daffodil Days is the coming-of-age story of Daphne Jacobs, a recent high school graduate, still living in her hometown trying to figure out her life. The novel follows her relationships and friendships throughout her first year on her own. She begins the book lovesick over a friend and ends the book with a new understanding of herself. She bit her bottom lip. Her eyes were watering and her hands were shaking. Too much damn caffeine, she exhaled, blinking through the tears. Daphne Jacobs knew it wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't even the end of her world. She was supposed to only have 10 days with them anyway. What's 10 days? 2 seconds in her life. But the little fur balls grew on her fast, and she yearned for one more scratch from their needle claws. Stupid poop machines, she told herself as she drove back from animal control. She didn't have the money or the responsibility for 2 kittens. She didn't even know why she accepted the foster kittens in the first place. Why did she keep doing this to herself? Setting herself up for heartbreak. Not even heartbreak. Can you even experience heartbreak over a creature you barely met? Maybe I just like to torture myself. She didn't voice this last thought, just kept it swimming around in her brain. She seemed to find distractions from her melancholy feelings, and then those distractions would result in a deeper hole of feelings. Modest Mouse pounded on the car stereo. Everything that keeps me together is falling apart. With her body on autopilot, she finally realized she had driven herself not home, but to her home away from home. She pulled into Starbucks number 53576, her Starbucks, and her embarrassingly pitiful second home. It wasn't endlessly pathetic. It's where most of her friends worked, except for actually her. It's where they spent late night hours lounging around the parking lot long after the lights went off inside. It's where she curled up in big, expensive leather chairs and guzzled down books along with complimentary drinks. It's where she went before dates and slinked to after those dates crashed and burned so that she could lick her wounds with the help of chai teas and friendly banter. It was her cruise clubhouse, and she wasn't all that shocked that her car ended up driving there when her mind was miles away, even though her plans were to go home and collapse into her kitten-free bed. Dylan was working the register and whistled when she walked in. She didn't even have the emotional energy to roll her eyes. "Well, you look like shit mixed with hairballs," he said. "Yeah, F you too," she numbly spat back at him. "Wow, is that any way to get a free latte?" He laughed. "Just a small coffee black," Daphne stated, not asked, with eyes locking with Stephen. "Sounds like you are punishing your taste buds." Stephen joined the conversation. "Sounds like she is finally appreciating the decadence of our limited-time, small-batch Nicaragua blend," Nate energetically added while passing a steaming cup over the counter. Stephen rolled his eyes. He was an extra cream and sugar kind of coffee drinker. She grasped the ceramic mug, hoping the sudden heat would burn her. That's what she deserved. Instead, it was actually soothing. Her fingers picked at one of her many hempen leather bracelets that slinked around her wrists. She tapped her thumb ring, made from a shell, on the countertop and sighed dramatically. The whole crew that worked there were extreme caffeine addicts, all having extreme preferences going along with their habit. Nate drank only coffee or espresso, always black, to appreciate the brew. Dylan preferred green tea, which ended up having more caffeine than most brews anyway. And Stephen loved all drinks, as long as he could customize them. He didn't even have a style, unless Mad Scientist was a culinary style when it came to being a barista. Maybe it was. The quickest way to his heart was to be a little old lady who wanted to try something new. He bent over backwards to impress those little old ladies. He said they deserved some attention and couldn't help but be impressed by an octogenarian that wanted to try a little innovation at that age. Stephen was a big guy with a big heart. He had messy, unkempt brown hair that was neither straight nor curly. However, it always curled a bit at the ends near his temples where he would sweat. Stephen was a sweaty guy. He sweat when he was working hard. He sweat when he was playing guitar, and he sweat when he got really worked up in a conversation. He always tried to cover it with nice-smelling cologne and deodorants and lots of showers, but he was a big guy and he lived in sunny, hot South Florida. So what could you do? "What's going on, my little daffodil?" Stephen asked sweetly in a slightly a Mama Bear-esque tone. "Today is the 9th, she sighed into her cup while sliding it lazily back and forth, twisting it in the plate it sat atop of. "You obviously didn't catch her snap this morning. Today is the day that is bye-bye kitties," Dylan answered. "Aw, Daff, you knew this was coming." Stephen couldn't help but take on a "I told you this would happen" tone. "Who said this idea would break your heart?" "Me, that's who." Kind of tone. The one who everyone said was being a downer. "Well, who's a downer now?" kind of tone. Normally, she was quick to fall into a Stephen snuggle or breathe in his comforting words. But now, she was just mad. Mad at Stephen, mad at herself, and just mad. When does Silas get here? She wasn't sure why she was wondering. Well, she was sure. She had been avoiding most of his shifts since everything got weird. She and Silas, like the rest of the group, had been friends since her freshman year of high school. The boys had actually all been friends since first grade, but they went to a different elementary and middle school than her, and plus they were 2 years older. She just graduated a few weeks earlier and was soon to be a freshman in the local community college, majoring in, "I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm taking a random class here and there at community college like everyone else." Except for Stephen, he was an amazing artist, unfortunately, without any self-discipline or drive. Daphne was convinced he could be immensely successful, except he always procrastinated when any sort of job offer got serious. Even when she found art contests that were perfect for him, or offered to start an Etsy account for the work he had completed, he just found a way to change the conversation. He called out, said he was spewing chunks. "Ew, gross, Nate," Daphne exclaimed while launching a straw across the espresso machine, hitting him directly between the eyes. His easy smile smeared across his face, and they all chuckled. "Uh-oh, you effed up." Dav's sulky, pathetic vibe she was rocking. Dylan jabbed Nate playfully, but Nate was quick with a gentle kick to his shin. "F you, I am sad. I fell in love. I was in love. My heart feels shattered. I am numb." Well, you sad or numb? I don't think you can be both, because they kind of contradict each other. I mean, I know I've been out of school for a bit, but I'm pretty sure those are two different emotions that don't mix, Dylan mused, while continuing to play karate fight Nate. His messy hair heavily swayed every time he dramatically dodged an oncoming sweep. Karate chop? Dylan was one of those brooding, tall, and handsome guys who looked like he belonged in Seattle and not sunny Florida. His father was Norwegian, and his mother was Cuban, and Dylan won the genetic lottery. Those two could have produced a funky-looking offspring, but no, Dylan was gorgeous. He had wavy brown hair with natural honey highlights, a strong jaw, pale blue eyes, and muscular arms. Plus, on top of looks, he rocked a local vibe via the Cuban side and the foreigner mystique via the Nordic roots as well. On the other hand, there's Nate, who was the most quintessential beachy South Florida kid there could be. His hair was short and mousy brown. His skin was perpetually sun-kissed and freckled from practically living at the beach. He managed to surf almost every morning, and his days off were spent driving up the coast to catch better breaks. Surfing in Florida was nothing like California, but it was still a lifestyle. And once or twice a year, his dad, himself, his brother, and his cousins would go to Costa Rica for a week or two for real waves. Daphne sighed and nestled down into her favorite leather armchair. The rest of the afternoon was spent with Daphne reading, Nate and Stephen trying to write song lyrics, and Dylan texting with some new girl he met the week before. A slow trickle of customers flowed in and out, but it was a pretty quiet day. The sunshine blasted through the window at a certain part of the every evening, even with the blinds pulled shut. This evening, the sudden blast of light woke Daphne with a jump, and she squeaked. Nat and Dylan cracked up. They told her she looked like a hobo all passed out on one of the chairs. "I know, ma'am, you just wanted to charge your phone, but no bathing in that bathroom, okay?" Dylan sternly told her before cracking a smile. "Hey, I've had a long day. Be nice. I'm emotionally exhausted." "Which you did to yourself," Stephen called from across the room as he wiped down tables. "I'm going to go home and grab some dinner. Wash the cat off of me, too. Be back around closing?" She asked the last part as a question, but it wasn't really. As usual, she'd come back to hang with the guys. Whether they ended up in their little town's downtown area or at the beach, or just waste hours in the parking lot, she'd end up back with her guys. And I'm going to let someone else start, because I just read 6 pages.
Thought nothing really happened here. Yeah. She painted a picture, two-dimensional picture of the guys, and yet We know nothing about Daphne. I don't know her hair color, no description of her. It's too much detail up front. I want to hear what
Lots
they
of
look like
hairstyles.
or what their interests are later, but not now.
Yeah, the thing that stuck out with me was on page 6 when it said, she went through everything and she said it was a pretty quiet day. But pretty quiet days are boring in books. Nobody wants to read about them.
Yes.
Nothing much happened.
Yeah.
Oh, don't write that.
Right.
There's nothing to, I get that she's sad about giving up the kittens, but that's not
10
enough
days,
to
10 ways with
invest,
the kittens.
for me to invest and really feel badly
Nothing.
for her. Like, show me a scene where she just had to put her cat down at the bed, then maybe you'll
Yes,
grab me.
emotion.
You know what I mean? But
Even so, I mean, you could use the cat situation as like a springboard. She was looking to the kittens because her life is so empty because of this,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
she has
it's
nothing
like
to
they
look forward to
fulfilled
before
something,
school
yeah.
starts.
Well,
or
yeah, she flunked her
she's
first
anxious,
responsibility test.
or,
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
take care of the kittens.
But she really did
Yeah.
because she only had to do it for 10 weeks.
Well,
so I
but
don't
she
know
could have
Days.
what-
adopted
Days.
them. I mean,
That's
it's
true.
fostering them, 10 days.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of characters
10
in 6 pages that are being
Yes.
introduced.
Yes, there are.
Really a lot.
but there's no story.
There was
And there's
3
no
in
story,
one
yeah.
paragraph.
Yeah, why do
right?
there have to be
Yes.
3 friends there? Why not one friend?
There's a-
Silas, who's missing.
And Silas, yeah, there was another one, Silas,
Too
but I
many.
missed that one. I just
Yeah.
circled that.
Yeah, I started reading this as soon as you sent it out, and I read the summary, and I said, okay, let's nail this down. I always write a short paragraph of my thoughts on the story in general. First paragraph. After reading the summary and before reading the piece, I have to wonder what will make this coming-of-age story special. How is it different from every other coming-of-age genre story out there? We'll see.
Yeah.
Coming of age is such a vague term. Coming of age, like finding yourself. I have no compassion for this kid at all.
Get a job.
Yeah, you get find something to do. Stop
Yes.
whining.
Yes.
Stop this insipid whining. The last sentence is, whether they ended up in their little town's downtown area or at the beach or waste hours in the parking lot, she'd end up back with her guys. Well, that's somebody I want to read about.
Yeah, I think this is important for the
So
author.
spot on.
So this is more of the character sketches, I guess,
Right.
for her characters.
Maybe.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. No,
Yes.
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 So this is important for the author,
Right.
but it should
These
not end up
These
in
are
a book.
character notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Thank
how
you.
you remind
Yeah.
yourself as you're
Right.
going along. Oh,
This is
yes,
what I'm
this
gonna
one
write
has
about.
brown
Yeah,
hair.
so right now I really don't know what the story, to your point, coming of age doesn't tell us anything. Like, what is the bad thing that's going to happen that's going to set the story in motion?
Right.
And we're 6 pages in and we have character sketches.
Now, maybe you're actually in there when she's giving up the kittens and she's sad because she doesn't have any parents back at home and now she has to give up something else. And then she goes there and Silas is not there or there, but he's not paying attention to her. And then what's
He's
the,
there
and then what
adopting a
makes
kitten
it
with another
special?
girl. That's what
There you
he's
go.
doing.
But
That's-
there has to be something really going on, not just her hanging out with too many friends.
Right.
It may be, and I admit this completely, that I'm too old for this kind of story to find any compassion for it.
No,
Because when I am reading something about this aimless, frivolous wasting of time, if you've ever grown up or raised teenagers, I recognize this, and I'm as similarly disgusted by my own kids at that time as I am by this kid.
I don't like myself when I was that age.
Yeah, well, exactly. But they're very hard to live with. I don't want to. I don't want to read about it.
but they can
But then-
still
Yeah,
be
but this seems like a young
interesting.
adult.
Oh, absolutely.
It's definitely like a YA or
Yes.
a new adult book. Actually,
And they
probably
probably
more
all
YA.
recognize the symptoms. I just have no
but-
compassion for it.
But
at
that
all.
doesn't, it does, that's only because of this character. I mean, you start a book like The Hunger Games, you've got a whole setup there.
Oh,
and
you're hooked on the
and you're
first 2
hooked
pages.
on this character. You like the character right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
So
And there's a definable problem.
Yes.
that's right.
It's a very.
Yeah.
Fight to the death.
Fight to
or
the
you
death.
make
Save
it
her,
food.
she's got to save her for her sister.
That's right.
Right.
And she puts
Okay,
her life on
very-
the line to save her
So,
sister.
so right off the top, right off the 5 paragraphs into that story, you know where you're headed.
Right.
Right now, oh, I don't know what I'll do. All the kitties, and maybe I'll have another cup of coffee. And I
What if
really.
they were
Sleep.
puppies? Would you feel
Oh,
that?
puppies would be better. Yeah.
Make it
I like.
puppies.
I like kitties.
Iguana.
Two,
Oh, I
two
like
things how
it.
this was not authentic.
If it were
to-
snakes, no
No,
fun.
probably
This
not.
was not authentic to Starbucks. She asked for black coffee, no description, no size. Just, she said small.
venti, yeah.
And he delivered it too quickly. He just handed it right over to you. Have to wait. Your name goes on the cup. I found that funny. She could have,
Right.
Melanie, you could have made a
Oh,
little
she got it in a
more
ceramic
Starbucks
cup, too.
specific. And
So-
by golly, that Starbucks, I'm
That's
sorry, that
true,
Starbucks
yeah.
has a 5-digit number, that particular, maybe
have to
they
tell
are,
you that we have-
maybe they are like that.
We have
But-
a Starbucks too. It's our Starbucks. I don't know
Oh,
the
I
store
get it.
number. I don't know
Oh,
the
I
store
get
number.
it.
But my girl's like, we have to go to our Starbucks
Oh,
because every
sorry.
time we go
That's
to another
cute.
Starbucks, they don't do it right.
Yeah,
No,
that's-
I
And the
thought this
barista
was a
knows us
neighborhood-
when she comes in. She's just like, "What size do you want, girls?" You know,
Neighborhood
so-
locale, I totally get
Let's
that.
talk a little about the story and trying to help this author.
Yes.
Yep.
So if you want to start the story off, whether it's in the vet's office or it's in the store with her friends, first of all, you can only introduce a couple of people at the beginning of a story. You have 3 new characters on the second page within 6
Yeah.
lines. You definitely can't do that because we'll get lost.
It's a list.
Right, it's a
Yeah.
list, and the descriptions are all a list. So if you were to strip everything out, there actually wouldn't be much left. But let's say that you knew what was happening here, and you had the setting, and you had some really interesting thing going on. Just keep it down to dialogue. You might, in the dialogue, someone might brush their blonde hair
Yes.
away or something.
Right.
You know, you can
I agree.
introduce these little things, or he had
Yep.
to bend down because he was so tall to reach something, or
Yes.
whatever.
Yep.
So that's how we learn someone's tall or what color their hair is, but that's very subtle. All these other things about whether or not someone's a good kid or he's lazy or whatever, or is an
Surfer.
artist.
A
You find
surfer.
out is an artist because he's doodling on his
Yeah.
That's what I
napkin.
wrote.
If it's
exactly.
pertinent,
Yes.
it
Right.
will come out
It
in the
will
story.
come out in the
Yeah.
If it's
story.
not pertinent, we'll never see it
Yeah,
again.
you
So
don't
you
and there's
have
no
to-
info
reason to have
dumps. You
it.
avoid
Right.
the info dumps. Yeah.
So you have to tell the scene and then not have all that other detail around it because it comes in, and a lot of it can come out in conversation. Did you finish writing? Did you finish drawing that picture? Because I really want to start that thing on Etsy for you.
Yeah.
Then that's a conversation.
Right.
Right. Oh,
It's
that's
not. It's
good.
not
That's
because
the
right
scene.
now
We
You
need more
see his
meaningful
resistance.
Rather than
you see
telling.
his
Yeah.
resistance
Yeah.
rather than this is an all tell.
Yep.
Yeah, the thing
And
is too
that's-
is that everyone here has written a novel, and everyone here has cut the first 20 pages of said novel, right?
Or rewritten it 50
or rewritten,
times.
or completely rewritten it 10 times. So this is normal. Like we've all done this. We've all started with starting the story in the wrong place, too early. This is starting the story
Right.
too early.
Clearing a throat.
Yeah, the clearing of the throat, and you have to do it. Everybody does it. You have to do
Right.
it. It's we all do it. But you need to kind of figure out where your story starts, and then unfortunately you got to kill your darlings, and this whole thing just has to go.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. She does-
but it was
Most
important to
of
do.
Right.
You still had to do it. And I'm not saying it wasn't important to do it.
And she
It
can write. I mean, there
was.
were some good
Yeah.
phrases in here.
Oh,
And
yeah,
there's,
definitely.
there were some funny and ironic and satirical
Yeah.
things in here
I like
also.
playing with the bracelets and the ring. I liked some.
Yeah.
of
There's
that.
some mechanical things. I mean, she tends to put
The word even is used way too much.
adverbs in the wrong place, like before the verb, like energetically added.
Right. I saw that.
And the way the actual dialogue, the quotes are set up, needs
Well,
to
there are
be
no
re-
commas. There's a lot
Yes,
of
Yeah,
right.
too.
and it's also. I mean, I always find it helpful if there's a line of dialogue, immediately say who's saying this.
Yes.
Either
Yes.
before, either before.
Now, you don't- if you only have
or
2 people,
after the first
Then
sentence,
we
and
don't
then
need-
you can
Then it doesn't matter.
then you can make it
it's
work.
back and forth.
But
Right.
so many people there,
Yeah.
I didn't know
if
who
you have
was
4
talking
people,
half the time.
yeah, I can't find out at the end of the paragraph who just said it.
Which is what was happening.
Yeah.
Yes, well, speaking of mechanics, I found the stupid poop machines paragraph. She says that, and then she says something else, but she says she didn't voice any thoughts except, she said, she didn't voice this last thought, about halfway through, and I wrote, she didn't voice any thoughts except for caffeine earlier, too much caffeine, and this stupid poop machines. But in that paragraph, why did she keep doing this? Setting herself up. Can you even experience creature you barely met? Maybe I just like to torture myself. She didn't. I had way too many pronouns there.
Well,
It was a
right.
jumble.
She did that throughout the whole thing. She just used Daffodil.
They're
a
not
lot more.
parallel.
Plus, there are way too many sentences that start with she, which is what I pointed out right on the first
And
page.
later in that paragraph, she seemed to find distractions from her melancholy feelings, and then those distractions would result in a deeper hole of feelings I found awkward. I did not know what was meant by
Yeah,
that sentence.
I had a tough time with that.
I was thrown.
I highlighted that one too.
And body on autopilot, and then she went to her home away from home, which was her second home, and then at the end, it was her cruise clubhouse, and she was miles away because her mind was elsewhere. There's so much redundancy, really could tighten up that
I cut
paragraph.
out a lot of it. Yeah, I mean, you'll see too, all of us edited this piece too, so That's all posted
Yeah.
beneath the
Yeah,
episode.
just watch the word echo. You probably heard it as Sue was reading it, but just the repetitive words. You can hear it more when you read it out loud.
And
So
didn't-
just the word heartbreak, too close together.
Yes. Did Melanie indicate to you, is this the beginning? I didn't know where this was in the
Yeah, it
story.
is
This is
I
the
actually
beginning.
checked, and it is the beginning.
Okay.
I like, I think you were talking about the "it's where" paragraph. It's on the second, on mine it's at the second. It's where they spent late night hours lounging around the parking lot.
Yes.
It's where I love that paragraph.
I
Yeah,
like it too.
that was good.
I thought that should start the story.
I'm gonna write that.
That's the establishing
Yes.
scene. Now we know where we are, who's there, and now from there,
And the significance that it has.
she can ride right into the reason that they're all together was because, then fill in the blank.
Right.
But I like that establishing setting right there.
And the thing is, I have to read, I just read something this weekend in the Boston Globe magazine written by a millennium, saying that, millennial, so bad at that, goes to the office, and a lot of people are always saying, you're wanting too much, you're wanting too much. And they say it, yeah. And so, well, at first I had to agree, it sounds like you're wanting too much. That's what I had to think about that story. So she is whining a lot. And I think that you need to feel more for her to say it's okay she's whining because she just gave up the kittens and like something else major is going on.
You have to earn it.
Yeah, right. You have to earn it.
Yeah.
And right now she's just whiny, so I really don't care what happens to her. But if there's something serious going on in her life, and maybe the kitten having to give up the kittens maybe she had to give up the kittens because she was hiding them in her house, and she does have a mother or father, and they made her get rid of them. Then you start to feel bad for her, and then she's sad for a reason. So there has to be something
some motivation.
substantial and motivating behind.
We have to be
why
on
she-
her side for some
Exactly.
reason. Yeah.
I don't know if you write a young adult and then not be on the side of whoever's starring
Yeah.
in the book. Can you do that? I mean, I
Yeah,
wouldn't like it,
yeah.
but I
You don't have to
know.
necessarily like the act, but they have to be interesting.
Right. So motivation behind this.
Well, speaking of young adults, Modest Mouse, maybe that's a very well-known group. I had no idea. I had to look it up, and I didn't know if Everything That Keeps Me Together Is Falling Apart was a song title or a lyric. It's
I thought
actually
you
a
were gonna
line of
tell me I had to
lyrics.
sing it. I was thinking in my head I should have looked this up so I could sing it, but no.
It might not even be a real
It's a
song.
line
It
of.
could be made up.
It's actually a line of
That's
lyrics from a
true.
song called
Was it?
Third Planet.
Did you
is.
look
I
it
looked
up and it's a real
Well, I
song?
needed to use punctuation properly. If it's a lyric,
Oh.
if it's a title, the punctuation goes in a different place. But it didn't move me. If she wants to talk about music more, okay, maybe it will tie in later.
Unless you know something bad had happened, right?
Right.
Yeah, the stories that we become involved with routinely and find pleasurable have three good elements at the beginning. We have a setting that we can understand and live in. We have understandable and enjoyable or hateful characters, and a conflict. I think this story has 2 out of the 3. It's a place that we all recognize.
Absolutely.
Trying to get a Starbucks out of your mind is impossible because that's like America. These characters are very recognizable. It sounds like every group of kids, and I hate to say this, but every beginning writer has written a story about, oh, my childhood friends were such cards, wait until I tell you about them. And it turns out that they're all the same. All childhood friends are all the same all the time. So what you've got is characters with the possibility of being special. And if you look at sitcoms, same dopey 5 people on the stage, but they all have a uniqueness. And right now you've got to find uniqueness other than he has blonde hair and his hair curls at the temples. Absolutely meaningless to me, anyway. But you've got 2 out of the 3 very important elements. The element that's missing, and it's glaring in these first 5 pages, is there's no conflict. There's no real problem other than her insipid whining. If she could somehow, if the author could find a way to get this conflict in there so that we would be rooting for her, then she'd be very close to liftoff.
Yeah, we're not sure what the conflict is. I mean, there's a brief mention of this guy Silas, which could be it. But if that's it, it needs to be
He's not
communicated.
He's not
better.
even there anyway.
No,
Even
he's
if-
not there, right.
Right,
Too
so
brief,
even
since
though
everything
she's
got
talking about
weird.
him, there's no real conflict because
Right.
he's not there.
Right.
Well, she spends
Or
most
she
time
could come
with
in and say,
Stephen.
is Silas coming in? And like, they could all look at each other like, hope not,
And then you hear a
because-
motorcycle up
Some
front.
clue.
Right,
Right.
or something
Big
to
thundering boots.
And then the motorcycle crashes to the front.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Silas
give
is
us
here.
some foreshadowing or something that,
Right.
this
High noon.
could be, yeah, right.
Clink, clink in the spurs. I love Silas.
Yeah, maybe he's
Good name, Silas.
maybe
Yeah.
well, she says she liked him, but maybe she liked him and then he turned out to be dangerous. There has to be something going on.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that
Well, it
There's no
says
problem yet.
there's
in
no
the
problem.
summary she's lovesick over a friend, but which friend is it? Because as she's ordering the coffee
She
from
likes half
Nate,
of them.
she has her eyes locked on Stephen.
And she
yet
talks most
she
about
asks, when is
Stephen.
Silas walking in? Oh, she knows he's not meeting his potential because he's not that wonderful artist he
Yeah.
should be.
She
So I
talks
wonder
most about
about
Stephen.
whom is
Right,
she
she does.
lovesick?
I know.
I need to know.
And it's not hard to cut down the characters. You just have the same two people say the things the other people are saying.
Right.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
no big deal.
Yeah.
Sure.
We have another minute. So is there anything else you want to bring up?
No, I think this a good ramping up to a good story that will take place 40 pages from now. As you mentioned, all of us have cut the first. In my last novel, I cut the first 40 pages. The story didn't start there; it started there, and you just have to own up to it. What you've done is a good preliminary stuff, breaking ground. You've introduced yourself, not us, but yourself to these characters and the
Right.
situation.
Which is not a waste of time.
Exactly.
Right.
No,
Right.
but we need
Right.
to know more about Daphne. We need to know something about her. I don't care.
We do. We need to know enough so that we feel.
I wanna
something.
care.
So,
I
yeah, we
don't
want
care
to
currently.
follow her and figure out what's going to happen to her.
And all of her
Right.
friends are at Starbucks. Why didn't she get a job at Starbucks? Why doesn't she have a job that contrasts with the job at Starbucks?
Why
My
doesn't she just
job,
have a
I clean up
job?
after kittens all
She
day,
should
but
just
my
have a
friends
job,
get to pour
period.
coffee. Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's unparalleled.
Sorry.
Unmotivated.
Unmotivated.
I know,
Sure.
right? All right. Well, I guess we're good.
I think the title's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Daffodil,
is.
Daphne.
All right. Well, Melanie, thank you for submitting today. We hope that our critique helped you. You'll see underneath the episode that all of our notes are there posted, so you can take a look at them. Thank you, everyone else, for joining us. Thank you, all of you, for being here. And we'll see you next time on our next episode of Writers Infusion. Keep writing.